Hello. How we doing?
Hello.
You okay?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm amazing.
Awesome.
Absolutely fantastic.
It's always good to have you in the studio. So we're here again to talk about some house and garden products. BudXL,
My favourite.
Roots XL. They sound similar. They don't look similar. Do they work together? These are the questions that we're going to be answering. So House and Garden is known for building products that work together. It's a full range. Everything goes with each other. So how does Roots XL and BudXL complement each other?
They do complement each other, but they work at different times. So the first product that you'd use in your cycle would be Roots Excelerator. So that'd go in from your first feeding all the way up until about week 2 of flower usually. When your flowers start opening up, that's when you'd stop using Roots XL. So with your Roots XL, you've got microbial inoculants, so loads of different bacteria and microbes and things like that, which will aid in, one, giving you a protective shield over your root zone to prevent things like Pythium catching on. So it's full of microbial inoculants, but to feed those microbial inoculants, you need molasses or some form of carbohydrate or sugar. So both amino treatment and Roots XL have this molasses base. So what that means is you just throw in tons and tons of carbohydrates at the plant during the veg stage, but in the veg stage it doesn't have as much of a use for them, so it stores them. So all these carbohydrates, and sometimes it's broken down into glucose, but it's all stored ready for flower. So when your flowers start opening up about week 3, when you start introducing BudXL, the enzymes will take these carbohydrates that you fed during the vegetative stage and push them up to the flowering sites. So again, you could see it as recycling or just making use of what you've added earlier on in the cycle, basically.
Yeah, so Roots XL is for setting up the plants early. And then BudXL is like a more of a flowering situation. I know House and Garden have like this foundation to finish where you want to set the plant up perfectly. I think we talked about that in the last episode as well. Making sure that the plant is in the absolute best state that it can be, ready for flowering. You just send all your flowering nutrients and it's good to go. How does that approach help to maximize the yield and quality?
Well, I think with a lot of growers, especially over in the UK, they like to rush things, you know, everything's on a time limit, everything has to be done for a certain time, so there's this like rush.
Yeah, I feel that.
But when it comes to your fertilizer, you want things going in at the correct times, really. So we've took all that guesswork out of it for you. So in veg, using our base nutrient, which has grown the world's best perennials and roses in Holland for nearly a century. So when it comes to vegetative growth, it can't be beaten. So you're using that, using all of our veg-based additives, whether that be multizyme, Roots XL amino treatment. They have their molasses base, you have your microbial inoculants, monosilicic acid, all the things you'd attribute to a veg stack. So what that does is it builds the foundation. So from the roots themselves up to the actual flowering sites, imagine it like a highway. When you're using products like Roots XL and amino treatment, you're just adding lanes to this highway. So when you start adding things like, when you start adding your carbohydrates in terms of your BudXL later on down the line, it just can move freely to where it needs to go. There's no, especially with amino acids. So imagine the amino acids as your cars. So they know where things need to go. So say your monosilicic acid, for example, your amino acids will move that where they need to go. So whether that be the stems for your monosilicic acid or flowering sites for your carbohydrates, you know. So building up that foundation is vital to a successful flower.
Okay. We were talking about timing there. I think you mentioned earlier, stop using Roots XL when you're ready for flowering. Is there any benefit in doing a bit of an overlap between Roots XL, BudXL, running Roots XL a little bit longer, BudXL a little bit sooner? Is there any benefit to doing that?
It's marginal. If you were going to put BudXL in a little bit early, I'd make it a couple days, if anything, just so those enzymes are there ready to go as soon as the flower sites start to open. In terms of Roots XL, what I would say is if you ever see Pythium catching on, whether that be, you know, the off smells, the sliminess to the actual root zone itself, then you can always reintroduce Roots Excelurator to enhance that barrier that you've made.
Yeah.
So especially when I was in the shop and things like that, the most common solution to Pythium would be hydrogen peroxide, which will nuke the microbial life in your soil. But it will kill the Pythium, but it'll kill everything else as well.
Then you've got to reintroduce that then with the Roots Accelerator.
Yeah, exactly. So if you use Roots Excelurator instead of a peroxide, it would, one, enhance your microbial life, and two, it'll help build up a natural protective barrier of the root zone as opposed to just killing everything with peroxide.
So using BudXL, we have an energy transfer from leaves to flowers. How does that then connect back to having a strong root zone that you would set up with the Roots XL?
So a strong root network can help in literally every aspect of growing from start to finish. So one, it's the foundation for your plant. It needs it to hold itself up. And your plant can only grow as big as the actual root network itself. So if you've ever heard of something called being root bound, it means that your roots get so entangled in the small pot that you've given it that the plant can't grow any bigger, and it just stops. It just stalls. So having that adequate root zone to supply the nutrients needed to feed the plant, plus all the carbohydrates that BudXL needs to work, all come through the root network. So they're all fed in via the root network. So without it, you'd be bollocks, mate.
Fair enough. So in your experience, what sort of differences do growers see running both of these products in the same program as opposed to mixing and matching?
Okay, well, Roots XL and BudXL, I put it alongside Top Shooter as well, are 3 house and garden products that could go into any range. So with BudXL, the proprietary enzymes that we use can't be used by any other manufacturer. So every nutrient would benefit from using them. And the same goes for Roots XL with the microbial inoculants. It's all patented and protected. It can't be used by anyone else, basically. It can't be reverse engineered either. So one thing I'd say you'd notice from using both of them together is just BudXL working more effectively. So having access to more sugars, more carbohydrates that it can use to transport just means it'll work more effectively. So any molasses base nutrient, whether that be Roots Excelerator, amino treatment, or the actual carbohydrates within BudXL itself, are all feeding the enzymes to make them work better.
So when it comes down to the techniques and things like that, are there specific systems, hydro, cocoa, soil?
It's applicable to any system. I'd say with the gold, Roots Excelerator Gold, I'd be wanting to use it in a hand feeding system. Well, really, you can run it in any system as long as you're not oxygenating the solution. So what can happen when you oxygenate Roots Excelerator Gold is basically some of the bacteria becomes anaerobic, and it will start reproducing really quickly, and it will form basically like a film on the inside of your tank, and it will coat the inside of your pipes, very sticky, and it can cause issues. So all I would say is if you're ever oxygenating the solution, whether you're in DWC, you're in flood and drain, where you're raising the pot and lower it in and it's oxygenating the solution, I'd just use the Roots Excelerator Silver, where those problem bacteria that don't react very well with oxygen are removed. So, but other than that, we've made sure that either the gold or the silver is applicable to any growing style.
Cool. So using the house and garden range, combining BudXL, Roots XL, Top Shooter, like you were saying, are there any common mistakes, things that people do that are just a bit wrong?
Okay, so one main one I've noticed is when you're using Roots Excelerator, for example, if you're in a tank, very common thing is to just throw the nutrients straight into the tank. What I personally do and what I think is better to stop any sediment fall into the bottom of the tank is one, use a stirring pump. I've always found that really important. If you don't want to oxygenate your solution too much, just turn it on when you're mixing and then turn it off after. That's one. Two is dilute the Roots XL into a jug, mix it and then add it, which again will stop sediment from falling to the bottom of the tank and just stay in there.
That makes sense.
So that's one way I'd say I've seen people, using Roots XL that may not be the best way. Two, touching on Top Shooter or shooting powder, is reducing your A and B. So if you ever look at the NPKs on house and garden base nutrients, they're very strong if you compare them with the competitors. So there's a lot of phosphorus and potassium already in the base nutrient itself. So when you're throwing a heap load more of phosphorus and potassium, whether it be your shooting powder or your Top Shooter, you need to factor that in. So when you use 1 sachet per 100 litres of shooting powder, which is like your baseline recommendation, I would drop my A and B by 1/4. And if you're using 2 sachets per 100 litres, which is our max dosage, you know, you're really trying to push it, I'd half the A and B going in the feed. So that's something to bear in mind.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'd say they're pretty foolproof.
Cool. So if you're running a different nutrient line, if you've got your own thing that you really like, you know, you've got your own system, you've figured it out yourself, you really like using it, you've had good results, but you want to maybe put in BudXL or put in Roots XL, Top Shooter, anything else, is there anything that you can tell people about doing that? Any tips? Or...
Okay, so with Roots Excelurator and BudXL, they're both virtually NPK free. So they're very easy to integrate into pretty much any system. They're not going to mess with your EC. They're barely going to mess with your pH, because all of our sea kelp based additives, whether that be algin extract, amino treatment, or Roots XL, they're all balanced to a pH of 6, which is relatively neutral. If anything, slightly acidic. So it's a lot easier, because I've had actual sea kelp coming like from the manufacturers, pH of about 9 usually, which if you add to your tank is going to cause a load of issues and problems, and you're going to have to sit there putting acid in and try and balance everything out. So we've again took that out of it for you. So any of our kelp based additives don't really affect your pH, and they're NPK free, so really easy to integrate. Same with BudXL as well. Neutral on the pH roughly, if anything slightly acidic, and it's going to be easy to integrate into anything. I think the only one where you might have to factor things into consideration is your shooting powder, because most ranges will have their own PK additive. And I'd never recommend to use any multiple PKs of anything, because usually they're strong enough on their own. Never mind adding 2 or 3. You don't know what's doing what.
You're asking for something.
It's a nightmare. I've seen it happen loads of times. And totally understand it. You think, it's like putting more horsepower in a car.
Well,
then if we don't upgrade the suspension, or you don't upgrade the brakes, you know. So you've got to be very careful when introducing multiple PKs. But other than that, I'd say they're all easy to integrate into any other range.
Cool. So that's the wrap then, Brett. It's lovely to see you again as always. Hopefully we'll be able to do some more later on.
I hope so.
We've seen Roots XL and BudXL. Most of the house and garden range, they have the, you know, roots to buds philosophy. Get your plants sorted from the beginning, and it will do all the work for you. All the house and garden range will. But yeah, thank you for coming. It's been lovely.
Till next time.
Yes, till next time.